Yes, hello, welcome back to the Rugby League Forecast podcast for the Round 1 2026 review of the 6 games that were played over the weekend. Of course, last week I did the Vegas reviews on the Tuesday, which was, of course, the Cowboys and the Knights, with the Knights winning that game, and, of course, the Bulldogs defeating the Dragons in Golden Point. Let's get straight into it. The Storm and the Eels, Thursday night football. I tipped Parramatta in this one, so yeah. Moving on to the next game. No, 52 points to 4. The Storm beat the Eels. Now, look, I should have known better. Storm always win round one, but, you'd be surprised of how many people in the rugby league community actually tipped Parramatta. And I could understand why. I was one of them. I mean, you look at their roster compared to Melbourne's roster. They had Joe Chan, Atavalu, Lasati starting in the back row. Nick Meaney was moved to the wing. Moses Leo, who defensively was quite poor in the preseason challenge, came on and had an outstanding game. I was watching him on Thursday night thinking, fuck, the fact that I even thought he was going to be a concern defensively. I think Melbourne were just unbelievable. Melbourne are my pick to win the comp, right? I've got them beating the Bulldogs in the 2026 National Rugby League Grand Final. But I did think they were going to lose this game because I just thought, no Xavier Coates, so many injuries, yet I should have known better. One thing that I'll touch on the Parramatta Eels first. Really disappointing. I expected so much better from Parramatta, and I think Parramatta fans would agree. I thought Jonah Pezzett was really poor in his opening match of Parramatta. Now, I know that sounds harsh, but there's big raps on this kid. He played about 20 or so games for the Melbourne Storm, and I just thought it was a big occasion for him, going back to Melbourne. There's probably no animosity from his end. But Braithen Astor, who manages Jonah Pezzett, came out recently on his podcast BTFU with Rennie Matua, and he came out and said, "Look, he couldn't understand why they didn't play Jonah Pezzett when Jerome Hughes got injured. They ended up going with Tyron Wishart in the halves halfway through last year and the year before, and then of course they brought Pezzett in to play halfback in that final against the Canterbury Bulldogs at Amy Park." I just thought Parramatta were really disappointing. Mitchell Moses was, I thought he was good considering the lack of go forward they had. I thought Junior Paulo was pretty good, had the occasional error in that game. But at the end of the day, look, I thought he was, he was leading by example. Jermaine Hopgood, for me, that was just unfortunate. For me, it was a head clash. The fact that was a sin bin, but Stephen Crichton's incident the week before wasn't. There's no consistency in rugby league anymore when it comes to refereeing. And look, I understand they're not robots. They are human. Mistakes will be made. But if we can just have a bit more consistency within the game, within the rules, I think fans will be a lot more understanding when a mistake is made. But you can't have Stephen Crichton. Now I get they're totally two different tackles, but you can't have Stephen Crichton get away with that. Nathan Cleary not get suspended against the Tigers. Heka Makasini, that shot on him, how he got off there, I genuinely do not know. But one thing I will say is that, I thought, sure, possibly shoulder hit the head, right? There was contact from the shoulder to the head, but the original contact was a head clash, right? And shit like that's going to happen. It was accidental contact. And it ended up resulting to be a sin bin. Melbourne, from then on, Harry Grant was absolutely sensational. Parramatta scored the first try. I think it was Sean Russell who scored the opening points. And from then on, I thought, fuck, I tell you what, this could be a good tip. But Melbourne did what they did best. Harry Grant is the best dummy half I've seen that plays off the back of good momentum. He is such a good dummy half. And Cameron Smith, for me, was, of course, the greatest of all time when it comes to, dummy halves, and probably one of the best, well, if not the best rugby league has ever seen since 1908 in Australia. But I genuinely believe that, Harry Grant is probably, for me, better to watch. So Cameron Smith, you understood what he was trying to do in terms of he was not just trying to do it, he did it. His game management, the way he would just play the long game, do those little subtleties that a lot of people wouldn't notice. And to be honest, I didn't notice them until probably around 2014, 2015 when I started to take watching rugby league a different way when I started analysing it as a fan rather than just a Manly supporter, just wanting them to win. I started to really try and understand where players would come from in certain plays and certain decisions around 2014, 2015. For me, Cameron Smith wasn't the best dummy half to watch, but he was such an honour and a privilege to watch him play in terms of the way his leadership, his calmness around the players, the way he was able to gather in his troops under pressure and get the job done. He was absolutely unbelievable. But Harry Grant for me is the best dummy half I've ever seen play uh, in terms of dummy halves to watch. Like Cameron Smith was the best dummy half ever, but Harry Grant was the best dummy half for me to watch. He's just so skillful, so good. He's won games in Golden Point by himself. 3 years ago, 2023 round one, they versed Melbourne in Golden Point at Parramatta Stadium, Combank Stadium back then. And Harry Grant scores from Golden Point, scores from dummy half. Golden Point last year against Penrith. Harry Grant runs out of dummy half, throws a big long dummy, falls to defence, goes straight through, scores again in Golden Point. And he's just such a class act. Watching him in Queensland Origin for the Ashes last year was probably, in my opinion, is only one of the few that actually really stood out for me in that Australian side. He was unbelievable in that Ashes series. Ended up getting the Golden Boot, I think, over Dylan Brown. He was sensational in this game. Look, it's come out afterwards that Harry Grant actually did a hamstring in that game, but as we remember, with about 20 minutes to go in that final quarter of the game, Harry Grant did come off, and it didn't look good at the start. It looked like he may have possibly done an ACL due to the fact that nobody had actually contacted him. And he sort of just fell to the ground, but we did see in a previous play that in a tackle, his foot did get caught. He is okay. Expected to be lining up for this weekend against the St. George Illawarra Dragons. I'm pretty sure that game is on Super Saturday at Cogra, so that'll be a great game. Let's remember the Dragons beat the Storm in the rain back in round 4 in 2025. So that game could, I think Melbourne will win and win well, but you never know in rugby league. I thought absolutely Joe Chan was on fire. Great to see he's built up a nice quick combination with Jerome Hughes on that right-hand side of the field. Joe Chan for me was outstanding. I just thought Sua Fa'alogo. I spoke about him over the off season. If you listen to this podcast, you'd know that I've had massive raps on this kid, and I think he will be an absolute superstar by the end of the season. 2 tries for him over the weekend. He was absolutely on fire. My only fault about Fa'alogo is sometimes in defence he can make really poor decisions from that fullback position. But surely, in my opinion, that comes from experience being at fullback. You're running 12 to 15 kilometres a game in that fullback position. Yet, you need to understand too that big decisions need to be made under that under those conditions, those tough endurance conditions, 12 to 15 kilometres a game, his defence will get better. I mean, you look at Scott Drinkwater. He's known as an attacking fullback, not the greatest defensive fullback, but he has improved over sight. So when he made his debut for Melbourne, I think it was in season 2018, Scott Drinkwater, defensively, he really struggled out the back. He's gone to the Cowboys, defensively still not known as a great fullback. But he has worked on his craft over the years. If you look at a game of Scott Drinkwater when he first went to the Cowboys in season 2021, I believe, his defence was really poor. Really poor. But if you look in the last 5 years, his defence has improved significantly. It's still not great, but in my opinion, he is absolutely Sua Fa'alogo, going to be a superstar by the end of the year. I've just had massive raps on this kid. I love the way he even though he hasn't played much football, he's been in that Melbourne system since he's been 14 years old. He's a local junior, and even though he didn't play much NRL, he's played around 12 games of NRL football. A lot of that has been on the wing, a few games at fullback. But the way in which he can really, when he's not playing, the way he gets behind his team, really respects the team. It looks like a player that, sure, any other club would have loved to have him. Like, seriously, like fuck. But he's not there moaning, crying, trying to get out of the club and trying to find, somewhere else or break contracts. I just think he's a really good kid. From what I've seen, I saw an interview with him on Channel 9, I think it was, Thursday night football at the end of the game. Really impressive young man, and I think will be a future leader of this club as well. He's a Melbourne Storm Junior, and I've got big raps on this kid. For me personally, Ryan Pappenhausen didn't have a great 2025 season. I actually genuinely believe Melbourne could be better with having Farlago at the back in season 2026. So the Melbourne Storm beat the Eels 52-4. Incredible. Once again, I doubted the Storm. I genuinely thought they were going to lose this game, which I'm embarrassed to say. Parramatta, dreadful. Jermaine Hopgood, when he came back on, I just think Jermaine Hopgood isn't doing his best work at front row. For me personally, he needs to be in that number 13 jersey. His ball skill, his passing game, his passing selections in that number 13 jersey is elite. Jack DeBellin, I thought his defence was really poor in this game in certain parts of the game. In attack, he did a decent job. Personally, I think I'd rather Jack DeBellin either start at front row or come on off the bench and play front row. I don't think you want Jack DeBellin starting or playing at any time throughout the game at lock forward, which is his usual position. Because, of course, you've got Dylan Walker off the bench that can come on and add a lot. And he plays as that ball playing lock forward as well when Jermaine Hopgood used to get tired last year and Dylan Walker changed their season. So, yeah, not sure about certain positions. Riley Smith, I thought, was really disappointing in this game. His defence was really poor. That try where Harry Grant just ran through the whole side and they hardly moved, that to me is an attitude thing, which is really concerning. At least you want people to start trying in a play defensively. They all just stopped and looked at each other. Really concerning defensively there from the Parramatta Eels. Look, I think Parramatta could have a decent season. I don't have them in the top 8, but in saying that, I still think they've got to adjust. At the end of the day, I mentioned in the season preview, and I might be wrong. I hope for you Parramatta fans that they can make the 8. But in saying that, I genuinely believe that, Zach Lomax, at the moment, they haven't got a like-for-like replacement, and it turns out that they, may not. With Zach Lomax now signing for 2 years for rugby union, so Brian Kelly really was their replacement for now. They've lost an Origin international quality player, best winger in the game in my opinion over the last couple of years. So they've lost quality there. So, how are they going to replace that? They've got to have a look at that. Good news for Parramatta fans. Josh Adokar was, of course, a big loss in this game. But in saying that, he is expected to return within the next week or two. He was on Sunday night with Matty Johns on Fox League and said that, originally it was noted that he'd be out for 6 to 8 weeks with a thumb injury. But he's expected to be back possibly this weekend or the following week. So that's really exciting for Parramatta Eels supporters. Disappointing loss from Parramatta. Credit to the Melbourne Storm, 52 points to 4. Let's go to the next game, 42 points to 18. The Warriors, the Wars, beating the Roosters. Now, luckily I got this tip right. I was quietly confident the Warriors could win this, only based on the fact that I'm not sold on the Roosters. I don't have them as premiership winning favourites. And I think one of the reasons why is because the whole Cherry Evans thing, like for me, Cherry Evans, watching him the last few years for Manly, in attack he's fantastic, right? He's going to add a lot of leadership, a lot of quality in attack. But one thing I noticed, one thing I did say in the Roosters preview and in earlier podcasts is his goal line defense is really poor. Like really poor. And the Warriors targeted that last week. And I genuinely thought his goal line defense was better than that. That Kurt Capewell try was really poor. They got through on that left edge really easily on Cherry Evans' side. And look, I just think I think the combination will work. And my prediction was that Sam Walker and Daly Cherry Evans, by round 10 onwards, I think they'll have one of the best halves combinations in the season. I genuinely believe that the Roosters will play finals and they will have a great halves partnership by the end of the season, by midway to end of the season, right? But in saying that, I did also think that it might take them a while to fully click and connect. For me, they're very similar in the way they play. They're both sort of erratic players, and I think it could take. Yeah, I genuinely think it could take a couple of months. The Roosters normally start poorly and ending up making the 8 somehow. At the end of the day, I mean, you got to give credit to what they achieved last year with the amount of players that they had moved on. In saying that, I still thought they had a top 8 roster, and I still, at the end of the day, they still made it. So you got to give them credit there. But really disappointing in this game. Mark Nwanganitawase, I thought that little kick behind him was absolutely sensational. I thought he was a lot better in this game. In the trials, I thought the thing about Marky Mark is he's got all the skill in the world. Probably one of the most skillful outside backs rugby league has ever seen. Like genuinely, and that's the thing about rugby union is sometimes we look down at the game, but I've got no doubt that rugby union players have a lot more skill than rugby league players. I hate to admit that, but I mean this is an example. Joseph Suwali, he was originally a union boy. You looked at his skill. Angus Crichton for a back rower. He's originally a union boy going to the Wallabies next year. I'm sure he'll be in the Wallabies system there. But I believe rugby league players are better, tougher, and fucking awesome. So I'll leave it there. But yeah, I genuinely believe that he has got an error in him occasionally, but I thought he was pretty good in this game. Spencer Leniu getting ruled out just before kickoff was not ideal at all. That was really, really, he did a hamstring at the warm up in New Zealand, so that didn't help. Lindsay Collins, for me, he just isn't that alpha prop that I thought he'd be the next man up to replace Warira Hargraves. And I know Lindsay Collins has been in their system now for 5 or 6 years. But in saying that, I just think he's getting a little bit slow. He's not dominating the game as much as I would like to see. Sure, he's better from catching bombs than he is at sort of intimidating other sides at the moment. I just think he's lost that aggression or something. He's trying really hard, but I feel like he's just slowed up a little bit over the last 12 months. No doubt he still adds a lot to any side, especially the Sydney Roosters. If he was to move on from the Roosters, he would add a lot, of course. But I just thought, you probably want those players to step up. Nafahu White, he was really good, but at the end of the day, Sammy Walker's kicking selections, there was one play where they had all the momentum in the second half, ready to try and come back, and he kicks it on the second tackle, 2 or 3 sets later. He then kicks it again when they're 20 metres out from the line on the first tackle, and Kirk Capewell catches the ball. Just his decision making, his early kicks when you're 15, 20 metres out from the line. He's trying to create something out of nothing, and that's what he's best at. But in that game, in that situation, in that scenario, it's probably, at the end of the day, this is his 6th year of NRL. Okay, so he's getting sort of towards the halfway mark of his career. So look, what is he? 23, 24 years of age? Actually, no, he'll go on for many, many more years. So to a degree, he's still very inexperienced, but with experience, those sort of decisions will naturally get better. But credit to the Warriors. I thought Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, I thought Mark Nwanganitawase played well, but I thought Roger Tuivasa-Sheck was all over Marky Mark. I thought he handled him really well, especially in defence. Wow. Like a Halasima, that try from that crossfield kick was great. Tanner Boyd was absolutely sensational. I've rated him on this podcast over the off-season. I'm saying that I rate him more than most people. You mentioned Tanner Boyd and you think possibly a reserve grader. I think his kicking game is extremely underrated. He's a great goal kicker. His goal line kick, goal line attack with his kicking choices is phenomenal. I thought that was the best game I've ever seen Tanner Boyd play. Great try. Once again, a really poor defensive decision from Daly Cherry Evans to fall for his dummy. And I thought that, at the end of the day, the Warriors were just far too good in this game. Jackson Ford, I thought, was absolutely sensational. Look, there's talk that Mitch Barnett is expected to return this weekend, so that will be a huge in against the Canberra Raiders. Really looking forward to that game this weekend. That will be Friday night at 6 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. The Warriors, 42 points over the Roosters. I thought Wade Egan was really, really good. When Sam Healy came on, I thought he was really impressive. I thought this kid has great service from dummy half. Shans Nickel-Clockstat was really good out the back. At fullback, Dallin Watene-Zelezniak was really good. I thought that, he was safe under the high ball. A couple of really big kicks, catches for him to take. He took them. He did what he needed to do for his side. He was consistent and very reliable, which is what he's great at. Congratulations to you, Waz fans. 42 points 18 over the Sydney Roosters. Let's move on to the Friday game, which was 8 o'clock between the Brisbane Broncos at Suncorp Stadium and the Penny Panthers. 26 points to nil. Penrith beating the Brisbane Broncos. I tipped Brisbane. I just thought they would have learnt a lot more out of that World Club Challenge defeat than what Penrith would have learnt in the trials against the Tigers. I genuinely thought that the Panthers were absolutely sensational and once again proved many people, including myself, wrong. Um, I thought they were, you look at that and think, who the fuck is going to beat them in season 2026? Nathan Cleary was sensational. You look at their lineup, Liam Martin gets ruled out just before kickoff, and you think, oh, shit, that's a huge loss. But then Luke Garner comes straight in, does a job. I thought Papali'i made a couple of errors in this game, but overall I thought he was really, really impressive in this game, especially defensively. His decisions in defence were great. Mitch Kenny, such an underrated dummy half. I know we talk about Reece Robson and Blake Brayley playing in that dummy half position for New South Wales in season 2026, but Mitch Kenny needs to be a huge... a huge chance in my opinion. Like he won 2 comps in a row at dummy half. Api Coruscant leaves at the end of 2022 against the Parramatta Grand Final. They win that. He then comes on 2023, 2024, gets to a prelim as dummy half in 2025. And I think Laurie Daly will really need to consider him to be a New South Wales dummy half, especially with his communication, his connection he has with the first receiver of New South Wales, Nathan Cleary, which we all believe will be the number 7 for the Blues in season 2026 again. The Penrith Panthers, Dylan Edwards, one of the best games I've ever seen of his career. And I was really happy for him to see it. From about round 14, round 15 onwards last year, there was a game against Newcastle where Penrith lost, and Penrith had a lot of their players out. I think it may have been an Origin round, but from that Origin period onwards, Dylan Edwards to me, for the first time in his career, looked a bit slow. He always looked interested. He was always trying really hard, but he was making errors like he did at the start of his career. He was making errors that he wouldn't normally make. And for me, in my opinion, Dylan Edwards wasn't that reliable Dylan Edwards that we know of. But he showed that he is back. He is back. And 26-0 against the Premiers, the Panthers, literally said to every single rugby league fan out there that doubt them, fuck you. That's what they said. They said, we're here to play. And that this dynasty, I just remember Ivan Cleary last year at the end of the press conference coming on and saying, hey, what's over? And he laughed at it. And you could tell he was fucking pissed off by the question. So great effort there from the Penrith Panthers. The Broncos, fuck, I don't know what to say about them. In fact, I genuinely am not going to say much about them. Because in my opinion, they will come back and play finals. And I don't want to be that person. Like last year, round 13, everyone was writing them off. Possibly, especially in the media, writing them off. Madge takes him on a cruise. He's lost the dressing rooms. They end up winning the comp, right? So I don't want to be one of those people that are going to bag Brisbane. It was a shocking game. It was one of the worst games they have actually played. It was actually their biggest round 1 defeat of the club's history, and they hadn't been scoreless since 2021. So for me, in my opinion, the Brisbane Broncos were really, really poor. I don't think the World Club Challenge helped them at all. I thought it was going to. I thought they would have learnt a lot out of that experience to see what the areas they needed to clean up on, especially in defence. Turns out when you leak in 26 points and you let Hull FC score about 30 points, their defence is not up to scratch as the Premiers. You look at their roster, they should have at least scored fucking 12 to 18 points in this game. They weren't able to do that. I thought Reece Walsh had his moments. Fuck, he tried, but it just wasn't his day. Really poor call, in my opinion, from Michael Maguire to leave Ezra Mam on the bench. Ben Hunt, for me, needs to be the 14. I love the selection of Corey Paix starting the game and Ben Hunt coming on from the bench, but I do not understand why Michael Maguire did that at all. When I saw that and I noticed I tipped Brisbane, I was really, really concerned from the game going forward. Ezra Mam, he's his starting 6 every day of the week. I get it last year in the grand final. Ben Hunt was the 6. Ezra Mam came on. all that sort of stuff. Ben Hunt then moves to hooker. But, Ezra Mann had only played half a season of the NRL. Ben Hunt's experience was probably needed in those bigger games. But, I think Madge needs to understand that fucking a year from now, you may not, you definitely not have it having Adam Reynolds. You're not going to have, possibly not Ben Hunt. This could be his last year. You've got Jonah Pezzett coming in who, against that Storm game was really fucking disappointing in my opinion. He will be back. He'll do a good job for Parramatta this year, but he was disappointing. Fuck it, put Ezra Mann, give him the starting six. I don't think he'll make the same mistake this week, but when that decision was made, all of a sudden I started to think, fuck, I probably should have tipped the Panthers. Yeah, look, Broncos will be back. I think they'll beat Parramatta this week, and I think they'll beat them well. Suncorp Stadium, I think they'll be pretty pissed off at the way they lost that game, and I reckon they'll learn a lot more in this game than they did at Hull FC against Hull FC. Hull KR, sorry, I should say, not Hull FC, Hull KR in the World Club Challenge. Let's go to the first game of Super Saturday, which was the 5:30 game between the Cronulla Sharks and the Gold Coast Titans. Cronulla winning this 50 points to 10. I did tip Cronulla in this game. Yeah, for me, in my opinion, I thought Cronulla were going to win this big. Just based on the fact that Gold Coast, I didn't really understand why Cooper Bye wasn't starting in the 13 jersey. And when he did come on, he didn't really play many minutes. So I think Tino is better being a front rower, in my opinion. And Cooper Bye in the trial, when he had the 13 jersey on his back, he looked unfucking believable. He looks like an 80-minute lock forward. He was absolutely outstanding in the trials. But I do think the Titans will have a better year than what they had last year, I think. But in saying that, I do also think that they, I think there's going to be a bit of pain in season 2026 as well. We have to remember with Josh Hannay that this isn't really his side, right? So by season 2028, let's really start judging him, because by then he's going to have the side on paper that he wants. He even admitted on Fox League a couple of weeks ago in an interview before a preseason challenge match that, he's working with a player that, with a playing roster that is a little bit out of balance. And they need to change things around there. Cronulla 50 points to 10. Braden Trindle, absolutely sensational. I thought, just back on the Gold Coast Titans, I thought Keanu Kinney's defence was really disappointing in this game. I understand he only played a couple of games last year. Of course, he had that neck injury early on last year, and he was lucky to come back from rugby league, just into rugby league. So look, yeah, it was a really bad injury. So, look, at the end of the day, he is still very inexperienced, Keanu Kinney. But in saying that, I also believe that I probably expected him defensively being a bit better in this game. The Sharks, I thought Will Kennedy was absolutely outstanding. Like Jesse Colquhoun was good when he played. Blake Brayley, these players, really, I look at their roster and I think, fuck, like this is their same roster since 2022. Like, they need to get to a grand final now, in my opinion. 2 prelims in a row, finals every year since Craig Fitzgibbon has been there. In my opinion, the Sharks, they need to get to a grand final, because this is, in my opinion, their last chance where they can really do something within the next couple of years. Talakai, I think, is signed with Perth. Talk that Jesse Ramian will be moved on. Toby Rudolph possibly being moved on as well. So there will be some players coming off contract. Thought Jesse Ramian for me was absolutely sensational in this game. Braden Trindle was absolutely fantastic. Love that play where Nico Hines swooped like he did at the Melbourne Storm when he was playing fullback, swooped around the decoy runner, and he found him with a pop-up pass. Beautiful play. I thought Trindle's 40-20, 3 try assists. He was so good. A try. Pretty sure he scored a try there. He was just honestly the best game of his career. It was absolutely fantastic, and a great way for the Sharks to start season 2026. I thought Sam Stonestreet did a good job too. Cronulla are doing this without Ronaldo Mulatalo, who is expected to line up at the back end of the year for Cronulla. So I'm expecting them to make the finals, and if they do, they really, this is their last chance with the roster they've got to make a grand final, in my opinion, in the next couple of years. That premiership window is closing and closing quickly. So they need to do something special this year, and I genuinely believe that I think they can go as far as a grand final, which will be a big tick. But I don't think if they came up against the Melbourne Storm or the Penrith Panthers in the grand final, um, that they could do something there. I genuinely believe Bulldogs could actually beat them too. So, yeah, look, great win. But as Craig Fitzgibbon said, there's still plenty of work for them to do. But I thought you can't be disappointed in anything that they showed over the weekend. I thought they were really, really strong. Let's get to the 7:30 game. Oh, Manly. Yeah. Raiders, 29 points. Yeah, Manly losing that in Golden Point. 29 to the Raiders, 28 to Manly. Yeah, 29-28. Ethan Sanders field goal. Let's move on to the next game. No, only joking. Look, when I did my Manly season preview, the first thing I said was I think Manly will finish 13th based on the fact that their forward depth is shocking. It's really poor, and I think we saw that in this game over the weekend. Why Ruben Garrick is at centre, I don't know. Jason Saab, he actually had a decent game in defence, a couple of good reads there. I just think the positions, I don't know why Jake is, I understand that Siwa Takiaho got injured with a calf injury, expected to be ruled out for at least 6 weeks, apparently, 4 to 6 weeks with a calf injury. He was ruled out after 15 minutes of this game. So, look, I can understand, okay, Jake probably naturally has to play a few more minutes, but when you've got Jake defending at lock forward in a 31-year-old body, and he's slowed up now for three or 4 years, he's been slowing up. He looked really, really gassed and exhausted in this game. For Jake to be poor Jake, like I feel sorry for him. But he gives his all, he tries his hardest, but at the end of the day, he should. It's not fair on him to have to play 60 minutes at lock forward. He's slowing up. He still offers a lot, but he's slowing up. He's not the Jake Trbojevic of many years past. But at the end of the day, yeah, I just think you probably want Jake starting at prop alongside Taniela Paseka, Siwa Takiaho coming off the bench. Ben Trbojevic, look, like in attack, he offers a bit. Defensively, he can be quite poor. I thought he had a decent game in this game. Yeah, Jake Simpkin, I thought, had a little decent game. Jamal Fogarty's kicking game was absolutely sensational. I heard Gordon Tallis on NRL 360 yesterday say, Jamal Fogarty probably should have taken the option for field goal. But when I watched the game, I could swear that Manly were about 53 metres out in Golden Point on the last tackle. So when Jamal Fogarty put in a really good kick to the corner, I thought that was a really good selection at the moment. Like Jamal Fogarty probably can't kick the ball 50 metres, right? So to kick it to the corner at that option, Gordy said he was 35, 40 metres out. That wasn't correct. So I don't blame Jamal Fogarty at all for not taking a shot in that moment. It's actually a good play in Golden Point to kick it to the corner if you don't feel like you can possibly get a field goal in that area. Manly, look, overall, they do what they always do. They start well at Brookie. Final 20 minutes of that game, they fucking struggled. Their defence, this is what I don't get. They've had the same defensive coach, Jimmy Dimmick, I think, since 2023. And our key concern over the last 4 years since Seabold's been at the club has been our defence. So I don't understand our defense has not improved. 14-0 up. It's unacceptable in the NRL to allow a lead like that to be taken over. And I get the game is sped up, fastened. Comebacks are going to happen a lot more than what they did 10, 15 years ago. When I watch a game of rugby league back then, it is totally, totally different. I thought Manly, overall, I thought, sure, Bulldog Richie was on NRL 360 yesterday. He goes, they lost to Golden Point by the minor premiers. Cut them some slack. And I'm going, well, no. No, the Manly that I grew up watching fucking win that game, and they win it well at Brookie Oval. The Manly I know is the Manly that, they know their DNA. They win games like that based on mental toughness, never giving up. And what did we see in that last play? The only person that put a bit of effort in that last play was Jake Trbojevic, who was gassed. He was the only person putting pressure on Ethan Sanders. And that, like, what the fuck? What was that about? Like that's not manly. That's what Seabold is trying to bring to the club, the manly way. Well, we didn't see it in that game. We didn't see it in that game. Mentally, I don't know if Manly are mentally tough at the moment. And sure, they came back, but fuck, let's be honest, Tolu Kola did most of that work. I don't know. I just thought Manly should have won that game. I did tip Manly in the end. I did tip Raiders over the preseason, but I hate tipping against Manly. I genuinely thought Manly were probably going to win that game in a tight one. I was almost right, but not right. You've got to give the Raiders credit at the end of the day. I thought they were, they had everything wrong going against them in the opening 10 minutes. Everything. 6 against, penalties. I mean, I was watching it, and I'm a Manly tragic, and I'm watching the referee and going, fuck, that's a harsh call against Canberra. Fuck. Like, I'm just going, like, Jesus Christ. I don't like seeing games that are just so one-sided. I just thought it was really, really disappointing there. From the Manly Sea Eagles. Canberra, Ethan Sanders, how good's that? Not his debut match for Canberra, but I did watch a game last year where the Raiders took on the Roosters, and Canberra beat the Roosters at Allianz Stadium. And I remember taking so much out of that game when it came to Ethan Sanders' kicking game. It was absolutely sensational, and you can tell he's a great kid as well. I don't think I know he didn't celebrate after that game. He did not get up and celebrate. He looks really cool, calm, and composed, and fucking first class kid. What, 21, 22 years of years old. He's just a classy kid. Just honestly, the way he was interviewed after the game, and he said, look, I've got to give credit to that win to Jamal Fogarty for teaching me so much over the last few years in the Canberra system. Like, what a fucking good player. There was so much respect from both sides in this game. I thought Corey Horsburgh, for me, was actually Canberra's best player in this game. Sure, you know what you're going to get from Corey. He'll make the occasional error, give a penalty or two away, but in saying that, I thought he was absolutely incredible in this game. I thought, congratulations to the Raiders. Xavier Savage in the first half, fuck, I mean, the errors he made were diabolical, dropping the ball over the line. Defensively was a bit poor in the first half, comes on second half, fucking unbelievable. He was outstanding, just totally different player in that second half. Really, really good. Congratulations to the Canberra Raiders. 29 points to 28. Manly, they should have won that game. 14-0 up. As a Manly fan, that is not acceptable. It is not acceptable. I understand Siwa Takiaho got injured, but Joey Walsh, don't get me started, how he did not get on the field, I do not understand. Look at the Canterbury Bulldogs, right? I don't buy this bullshit of, Seabold coming out in the press conference saying, well, it's pretty obvious, isn't it? Like, we had Takiaho injured, we needed another player to come into the forwards. Well, look at the Bulldogs. Like, in season 2024, when they first made the finals for the first time since, 2016, 2017, you look at the Bulldogs in that game, right? And in season 2024, they buy Kurt Mann, Jamin Salmon, all these little kids, respectfully, like little forwards, that do such a good fucking job, like little players that play in the forwards that are so fit, so agile, so skillful. So you don't need the big boppers in the game. And Joey Walsh could have easily come on the field and play as a ball playing lock and done a fucking great job. Like, you don't need, just because Corey Waddell plays in the forwards doesn't mean that he needs to be the selection that comes on. I don't get it. Joey Walsh, fuck me. I genuinely believe if Joey Walsh comes on with about 25 minutes to go in that game, Manly could seriously have fucking won that game. And I understand, Jamal Fogarty, you'd think that he might be the go-to field goal kicker for Manly. I genuinely believe they'd go for young Joey Walsh. I think he kicked a nice little field goal against the Warriors in the preseason challenge. Fogarty, the one weakness in his game is being able to ice games. And I just look at Joey Walsh. I think he could be a player that will ice many games for Manly in Golden Point down the track and in those tight games. But Manly need to re-identify themselves. They need to get back into remembering who they are as a club and getting back that DNA, because I'm sick and tired of seeing Manly fucking score 14 points or 20 points in a game and then they fucking crumble. Like, hold on to that Manly DNA, play for the jersey, play for the fans, play for all those players from 1947 onwards that have represented the jersey. Because when I see fucking jersey grabbing and all that, like, and here I am criticising them. I never played first grade football. I was never a great player of rugby league. In fact, I wouldn't even say I was a good player. But the one thing I'll give credit for is I never fucking gave up. No matter how tired I was, no matter how injured I was or whatever, I never, ever, ever gave up, apart from that game in round 5, 2013 for the Beacon Hill Bears at North Sydney Oval when the big Islander guy was running straight at me. I may have run the other way in that game. But apart from that, and I got that attitude from a kid watching Manly play, going, look, even Manly back in 2004, 2005, 2006, they weren't going to win a comp back then. But as a kid watching Manly back then, I knew I didn't have natural talent as a player playing in the junior rugby league district at Manly, right? I knew that I was never going to play for Manly realistically. But what I could take out of watching my team play was how they never gave up. And I took that Manly DNA into my game, going, well, I can't do this. I don't have these natural talents, but I will never, ever give up in a game of rugby league. And in life, I won't give up. And that's what I was taught by watching Manly play. The likes of Watmo, even Jake Travojevic, Stevie Maddai, Matt Ballin, all these players knew, even if Manly lost a game, they never, ever, ever, ever gave up. Jamie Lyons. So, I think it's fair to say that Manly gave up in several moments of this game, and I've got huge concerns for their season going forward, because I don't think Anthony Seibold should be the coach of Manly anymore. I love Seibold as a person. I think the way in which he can come out and be respectful to the opposition if he loses a game. He doesn't whinge and carry on in press conferences. I think he's a really, really good guy. I just don't think he's the coach for Manly going forward. There's obviously a communication breakdown between the coaching staff, or the head coach, and of course the players. Credit to the Raiders. Ethan Strange was fantastic as well. I thought they were, like Tapani was a bit quiet. Papali'i, I think, got injured. He's meant to be okay though. What a great decision from Jaden Brayley to come on. Owen Paddy to play reserve grade for a few weeks. Jaden Brayley, for me, was really, really good when he came on. We spoke about this on the podcast in the preseason, how important Jaden Brayley's communication and leadership is to the game. I personally, I don't think he'll play many, many games of NRL this year, but his leadership is something that I genuinely believed Newcastle would really, really miss out on this year. So he brings so much to a club. You don't need to buy a player and go, hey, I want you to play first grade every week. You got to. Yeah, you can buy players that you're going to be happy might play 5 or 10 games a week, but they will bring a culture from another club to help rebuild the culture at the club you're trying to rebuild. So Jaden Brayley is one of those players. He was absolutely sensational when he came on. Noah Martin, what a fucking outstanding player. Wow. Matty Nicholson expected to be injured for quite a while now. And I tell you what, I think you've got to start with Noah Martin after that game. 2 phenomenal tries, aggressive in defence. I think I first watched him in a preseason trial last year. I think it was against the Cronulla Sharks in the first game of the season. I'm talking like the very first game back on February 7th or something last year. And he really stood out to me in that game. So really defensively good. In attack, knows how to hit a hole. And I thought the halves combination, being the youngest halves combination of the NRL at the moment, between both Ethan Sanders and Ethan Strange, was absolutely incredible. Fucking good on him. Good on them. Congratulations to the Canberra Raiders, as much as I hate to admit it. What a mentally tough side. And I wish Manly, very disappointed in Manly. They should have fucking won that. And I do not like, I can handle a loss, but I cannot handle when I do not see players rush up and put pressure on a kick. I don't care if it was a flat ball and they weren't expecting it. If there's a halfback in field goal range, you fucking put pressure on the kick, because that's the Manly Seagulls I know. And I didn't see it over the weekend, and that really gave me the shits. Anyway, moving on, the Dolphins, 30 points to Souths. Yeah, I tell you what, 30 points, South's 40, 70 total points scored in this game. Yeah, I tell you what, like Souths, you've got to be happy with their attack, but defensively, fuck. Like some of the tries scored against them were really poor. Congratulations to Souths. For me, they were a much better side than a team winning this by 10 points. Souths were the standouts of this game. But in saying that, I thought defensively quite poor. The Dolphins, fuck. This is why I didn't have them in the top 8. And they very well might make the top 4. I might be wrong. But they can score fucking 30, 40 points, right? And they're happy for their opposition to get fucking, they're happy to win 30 to 28, or they're happy to win 40 points to 30 or whatnot. They lost this 40 to 30, but it's a real concern of how many points they leak per game. In the NRL in season 2025, they were the best attacking side of the competition. In this game, in 2025, they were defensively extremely poor, right? And that's why they probably finished in 9th position last year and, didn't make the 8. Let's remember last year, the Dolphins actually started 0 from 4, all right? And they came back and they dominated teams like the Melbourne Storm. And, they did a fucking good job, the Dolphins. But in this game, they were really disappointing. I thought South's kicking game was really good, especially from Ashton Ward. I understand Cody Walker kicked the first field goal in his career since 2016, which was a great play. Got them out of trouble. It's like the get them out of jail free card from Monopoly. I thought he was outstanding, Cody Walker, in this game. But Ashton Ward, I think he brought a lot in his kicking game. His short kicking game is really, really good. David Fafita, that sin bin to him was a bullshit call, in my opinion. He fucking didn't do anything. Dolphins, yeah, disappointing in this game. I've got to go. I've got an appointment in about 10 minutes to take my son to, so I've got to head off. Congratulations to the South Sydney Rabbitohs winning that 40 points to 30. That is the round 1 review for season 2026. I'll be back next episode for the team lists of round 2 2026. Thank you for listening. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to Rugby League Forecast podcast on YouTube and follow me on Spotify. Cheers, guys.